Okay guys, so we've been talking about the sexual reproduction in flowering plants, and in the last part we discussed about the embryo and the formation of embryo, and we know that the embryo formation is a sequential stage where a zygote start modifying from proembryo, then slowly start modifying into the globular stage, heart shape, torpedo shape, and finally the embryo. But if you look at here, I told you in the last class that we are going to talk about both the types of embryo depending upon two types of plants, monocots and dicots, dicotyledonous plant and monocotyledonous plant. Now this is a dicot embryo, while the bottom one is an example of monocot embryo. And I told you that the difference of embryogenesis at the very beginning, at the very early state of development is very same, but the difference increases as they start maturing. And you know, the fundamental difference between these two embryo is the number of cotyledons that they have. For example, the cotyledon for this is 2. It's a 2-segment part of the embryo. At the end, in the cylindrical or torpedo shaped part, they have these 2 fragments linked in a specific part known as the plumule. Okay. So this is the topmost region of the embryo, because you know it's very important to have polarity in an embryo, because plant are polar, like one part is shoot, the other part will be root, not the opposite one. So in this dicotyledonous plants, these are the 2 cotyledons. Okay, and if you look at the structure, cotyledon is important to give us an idea about which type of tissue is present on the top of the cotyledon, above the cotyledon, and the tissues that are present below the cotyledon. For example, the tissues that are present above the level of cotyledon is known as the epicotyle, and the tissues that are present below the cotyledon are known as hypocotyle. Hypo means lower, epi means up. So epicotyle tissue is present somewhere here, hypocotyle tissue is present here, and this center structure of the embryo is known as the embryo axis, and the modification in embryo axis bend and connect with the cotyledons in the plumule region. Now there are different names for different parts of the embryo, you know, to make things complicated. So to make things easier, I can tell you one thing, that don't bother about all the different name and structures. Remember one simple thing: whatever embryo that we are seeing, whether it's a monocot or dicot plant embryo, the embryo should have 2 parts. You know, an embryo axis should be divided into 2 regions. One is the shoot tip, another one is the root tip. Now for example, in this dicot embryo, this plumule is the region which will be part of a shoot tip, so it will form the shoot part of the plant, so all the branches and leaves and everything from the plumule. On the other hand, the bottom region, the lower region of this embryo, this part is known as radicle. This is nothing but root tip of this plant. So I can simply write the name: plumule is shoot tip and radicle is root tip. And the root tip tissue is covered by another layer of tissue known as root cap, which is really important for the plants to embed the root inside the soil layer. Very, very important. That's why this is also present. So this is the dicot plant. Now imagine the second type, or monocot plant. In this monocot plant also, you can see one simple thing. There is only one cotyledon in monocot. Mono means 1, di means 2. So one cotyledon. What is the cotyledon? This one is this cotyledon. Example, grasses. They are all monocot plants. And for those monocot plants only, they have one particular cotyledon, and that cotyledon is known as scutellum. So this is a single cotyledon known as scutellum. Now this cotyledon, again you can see the position of the cotyledon, and there are different tissues that are formed. The tissues that are below the part of this cotyledon will be known as hypocotyle, up epicotyle. In this case, what you can see simply, again, 2 separate regions. Try to look at here. One of the region is a part known as shoot apex, because this is the region where they have an active tissue. They start dividing with mitosis, cell division, to produce all the shoot regions, especially the leaves and the branches will be produced from this part. So this is known as shoot apex, and the shoot apex is very close to that of the scutellum structure, and all the tissues that are combined together in there is known as coleoptile. So coleoptile is nothing but this part of the tissue that is adjacent to the scutellum, which is linked with the shoot apex. So both of them differentiate to make all the shoot regions of the plant. On the other hand, if you look the tissues which are present right below the scutellum, what you can see here is, there are two different types of tissues again. The type of tissues that are present is known as the radicle, the same type of tissue that is present in dicot plant, which is nothing but shoot tip tissues, root tip tissue, sorry. So they are going to develop into root of the plant, and then if there is root tip tissue, then obviously it should be capped and covered by the root cap, which is also present along with radicle. So if you look at the structure and the difference between dicot plants and monocot plants, what you can find that both of them have a radicle and root cap at the end, the tissues which are below the cotyledon, while near about the cotyledon they have the shoot apex or the portions of epicotyle or plumule, which is a part of the shoot tip tissue forming regions. So these are all the anatomical differences, but in terms the development is very much similar at the very first stage. This stage are the mature stage of the embryo that we are actually seeing. From the beginning they all start the journey with one big cell, that is zygote, with 2n number of chromosome. Now another very interesting fact is there, this development of zygote is normally into the embryo that is formed, but sometimes what happens, instead of zygote converting into embryo, an egg cell without fertilization may also can produce an embryo. How? That's an interesting question, because we know the actual structure of the female reproductive unit, and this particular structure is very important to understand the post fertilization events, because if you look at here, this is the stigma, this is style, and this is the ovary. Inside the ovary all the process of fertilization is taking place, and especially inside the ovary there are embryo sac, where they have these egg cells and all the other cells matured after the meiosis. It's very important, the cell that is at the very beginning start meiosis division to produce a lot of these female gametes. But if in few plants there is no meiosis, this may happen, there is no meiosis and the cell remains diploid with 2n number of chromosomes. Now that particular diploid cells can give rise to the formation of an embryo. That may happen. Sometimes what happens, if you look at this embryo sac is filled by and surrounded by different other cells, and those cells that are surrounding this embryo sac start dividing mitotically and start protruding inside this embryo sac. So what happens, sooner inside the embryo sac, a lot of other cells start dividing, their nucleus are rushing in. So what they are producing here is a situation where we have one particular giant, one particular giant cell, inside of which we have a lot of tiny little fragments. So an embryo with multiple, one particular plant with multiple embryos forming in the same region. That structure is known as polyembryonic development of plants. Few examples are always there, like citrus fruits. All the type of citrus fruits that we know, they always go with this idea. They don't follow a true fertilization. They always follow the pseudo fertilization event. So without any fertilization, the cells that are surrounding the embryo sac start protruding inside the embryo, and they keep on dividing to produce different embryos together in a cell, multiple embryos there in a particular plant. So that's the idea of few of the plants with polyembryonic development. But remember one simple thing, in this whole structure of a flower, this ovary is turned into what? The ovary is turned into the fruit, and inside the ovary what we have, especially the part of the fruit that we know, the part of the structure that we know as a fruit is endosperm. Remember, the nutritious part of a fruit, that is the triploid nucleus and cell that is produced inside, that is known as this part of the fruit, the actual nutrient part of the fruit. Apart from that, there is a coat outside, and inside that there is this ovule, inside the ovary, this embryo sac or ovule. That ovule is turned into the seed. So ovule is the seed, ovary is the fruit. That's the ultimate fate. But what happens inside the seed, we have this embryo formed, either monocot or dicot. The embryo formed inside the seed, and the embryo is protected by the seed inside there for a long period of time. This is another important idea. And the embryo that we know inside the seed, if you look at the structure of the seed, there is a small pore that remains always. That is the micropyle, micropylar pore. So this micropylar pore that is present only way of interacting the embryo along with the whole environment. And whenever the environmental conditions are in favor of the embryo, with proper water and proper temperature and the presence of sunlight, all these things together, it will help the embryo to mature and produce adult plants and break the dormancy. Just talked about that earlier. So this in a sense is the idea of how a flowering plant grows, and whenever this ovaries start converting into a fruit and the ovules start converting into a seed, they also, all the flower part that was present start dissociating. They start destroying itself because they don't need the flower anymore. The role of flower to make it brighter and with fragrances is only required for the pollination. Once the fertilization is done, there is no requirement of any further pollination. So they will end the flower. Now they will focus on developing the fruit. That's an idea. Now most of the plants follow this idea, and this is known as the true fertilization plants or true breeding plants. But there are few plants who don't follow this true breeding approach. What they can do is, instead of converting the ovary into the fruit, sometimes the section of the flower which is linked with the ovary in the base of the ovary is known as the thalamus. So this thalamus instead is converted into the fruit. So these are known as, these are not real flowers or real fruits, what we can say. It's not real fruits. Example of this kind of fruit, strawberry, apple, but they are not the real fruits, because real fruit is the one which is produced from ovary or conversion from ovary. So these are pseudo fruits that we eat, apple, strawberry, etc. It's actually the modification of the thalamus receiving different growth factors, which are small chemical molecules. Receiving this thalamus, they start maturing instead of the maturation of ovary. That is an idea of making delicious fruits like apple and strawberry, but they are not true fruit or true fruit producing plants, but most of them actually are true fruit producing plant. Another important thing that I forgot to mention is regarding this endosperm that they have. If during this development of the zygote into the embryo, there are few plants who uptake all the endosperm that is out there, and they are known as non-albuminous plants, because they don't have any endosperm left. But there are few plants who always keep endosperm left even after the embryogenesis, known as albuminous plants. Now those albuminous plants, why they have few endosperm left, and the endosperm left sometimes also is not a properly formed endosperm or cells or cellular endosperm, because we've talked about the structures of endosperm. We talked about the primary endosperm cell, and also we talked about the conversion of primary endosperm into nuclear endosperm and the conversion of nuclear endosperm into cellular endosperm. So cellular endosperm is the most stable part of the endosperm, which is not present always. For example, coconut. I also mentioned that in the last part. Then in coconut, or say example of the black pepper, in all this case, what they have, instead of having, like, they also have the cellular endosperm, which is hard. Apart from that, they also have nuclear endosperm left in the seed, and that nuclear endosperm that is present in the seed in case of coconut is the delicious coconut water, and that is the nuclear endosperm, and we call it periplasm. So that's why I told you this idea, the term periplasm. Periplasm is the nuclear endosperm. Okay, nuclear endosperm, which is normally present as a liquid. It's not that much structure, because nuclear endosperm don't have any cell wall in it. So that's the structure sometimes present in few seeds.